So we finally made it, y'all. Eagles football is right around the corner, and I am excited. I am ecstatic. I understand that it's just preseason today, but that means that real football is a couple weeks away. But with preseason coming, there is a lot of players out there fighting for jobs, and the Eagles, I said this on my Twitter, are going to cut some great players. So today I want to talk about the three position groups I'm going to have my eyes glued on for this preseason game. So let's get into it.
You want Philly food?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Joe Castro, aka Philly Fresco, and it is Philly the podcast, man. So today we are going to talk about my three position groups that I'm going to keep my eyes peeled on for this preseason game. I don't feel like we're going to see a lot of the starters today, so I'm kind of keeping that in mind, as you should as well. But I'm excited to see some football, man. I'm excited to see some Eagles football. It has been far too long. This offseason felt like it took far longer than any other offseason. But before we get into that, be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe, join the family. Let's get on that road to 4K. We would love for you guys to join. But anyways, let's get into it, man. So we're going to start with number 3. And number 3 is going to be that cornerback room. The reason why I don't have it like higher, to be 100% honest with you, is because there's so many people. And there's a couple guys that are hurt, obviously, but there's so many people. I think we went into camp with like 12 bodies at that cornerback room. Obviously, you have to cut down the roster drastically once the season comes, but it seemed like we put a heavy emphasis or a heavy onus on having a lot of cornerbacks to kind of fight it out and see who's going to be the backups. We know who our top 3 are going to be, right? We can even kind of venture and probably say that Zach McPherson's going to probably be that number 4, or at least the Eagles would at least hope that he will be, right? But beyond that, what do we have? And beyond this year, what do we have? Beyond the year after that, what do we have? So this year can answer a lot of questions with that cornerback room, especially looking towards the future. And if, God forbid, something happens to one of the guys that are our starters, we have really no idea who's going to go in there and take the spot of, like I said, a Darius Slay or a Vontae Maddox or a James Bradbury. Who's going to take those spots? And, I say secondary. I don't know if I said cornerbacks or I said secondary, but I'm going to change it mid-talk, and I'm going to say just secondary because I didn't put, safeties on this list, but safeties is a big question as well. We know that Marcus Epps has been wowing people at camp. We'll see how that translates into the game, but what's going on with Anthony Harris, right? What's going on with Jaquiski Tart, who's missed a lot of practices with some personal issues, which is nothing I'm going to sit here and, hate on a man for, but it's something we need to see. How is he going to, mold with these guys and mesh with this defense? So I want to see what's going on in this safety room. I'm hearing Andre Chachere is getting a lot of looks at that safety spot. Another guy, I'm blanking on his name for some reason right now, but there's been a couple guys that they're trying to move around and see if they can maybe, Josiah Scott, there we go, if they can maybe find a home for these guys. So safety is going to be an interesting spot. I look at cornerback a little bit more. I'm going to probably have my eyes peeled a little bit more with them just because there are so many guys. So I'm sure I'm going to find myself looking back like, who the heck was that? So I'm excited to see both, but secondary cornerback room, that's going to be number 3 for me. Number two is tough to say, but I'm realistically going to say it's going to be the wide receivers. I want to see some more Britton Covey. I want to see what happens with Jalen Reagor. I want to see what happens with Quez Watkins, obviously. Quez has had up and down, preseason, off season, and especially during these training camps, missing a lot of more targets than he's catching right now. So I want to see him correct that. I think he's a gamer. I think he'll be fine. But this wide receiving group is very, very interesting. Obviously, Marcus Wheatfall was cut with that injury, or was it K-Eric? It was one of those guys. They got cut because of an injury. So we lost one wide receiver, but there's a whole bevy of guys that I want to kind of see what happens with them. Devon Allen is supposedly finding a second wind. There's so many guys at that spot, right? I'm excited to see what happens in this preseason and who gets the real brunt of the snaps. First quarter, maybe we're going to see starters for like a couple series at the most. I really don't even think we'll see that. I think maybe we'll see a 3 and out from the defense, maybe a 3 and out from the offense. Hopefully they, can mount a drive, but I think it'll be one series for the offense, depending on what happens. But I want to see what happens with these wide receivers going deep into this game, going into the third quarter, going into the fourth quarter. I want to see how these guys work out and how their connection is with these backup quarterbacks and what they're able to do, and with the special teams aspect of it, right? You look at Devon Allen, you look at Jalen Reagor, you look at Britton Covey, you look at all these guys on this wide receiving room. Who's going to take that kick return spot? Who's going to take that punt return spot? I'm excited for wide receiving, just to see the wide receivers work, even if it's just to see the real Britton Covey, right? Like, just to see if he's as real as he has been in these practices. So for me, number 2 is going to have to be the wide receivers. Now, number 1, I'm so between quarterbacks, because I do want to see what happens with Gardner Minshew. He's been having a really tough, off-season and training camp. Again, another guy that's been kind of up and down this training camp. And I want to see what Reed Sinet's going to be, right? I want to see what he can bring to the table. I want to see what Carson Strong can bring to the table. Maybe he's a gamer. Maybe he's a guy that hasn't been having such a good training camp, but maybe he can rev it up in a game situation. That's what I want. My gut says that's like, what you should analyze. But my heart says I want to see these rookies, and I know that that's not a position group, but I want to see these rookies. I want to see what Cam Jurgens is all about. Obviously, with Jason Kelce out, will he really play that much? I don't know. Maybe it's unfair to just say rookies, but it is what I'm going to do. You can make your own video. But I'm going to say Cam Jurgens, Nakobe Dean, Jordan Davis. I want to see what these guys are all about. I want to see how they're going to pan out. It's, and realistically, it is the top 3 guys. I know we got some other guys, but it's the top 3 guys for me. I want to see what these guys are all about. With Jason Kelce out, I don't know if Cam Jurgens is going to see a lot of time, but the time he does see, I want to see him pushing people off of the ball. Same thing with Jordan Davis. I don't know if Jordan Davis is going to see that much time. Obviously, he's listed as the second string for our defense, same as Nakobe Dean. We'll see what that means for them as far as snaps goes, as far as wanting to keep them healthy going into the season. We saw Carson Wentz thrown out there his rookie season, and he was the number 2 pick, and he was thrown out there with a bunch of terrible play with our backups of backups. So Lord only knows what Howie and Nick Sirianni has in mind for this team. But I have to say, number 1 that I'm looking forward to, man. Maybe you can say quarterbacks. That's probably the better answer and the more fair answer. But I just want to see what these rookies are all about. So for me, I'm going to take the cop out and go with the rookies, man. And I'm going to make a crazy assumption here. Okay? I'm going to say that they play Nakobe Dean a lot. And and I could be 100% off base about this. I could be 100% wrong about this. But only reason I think that they're going to play Nakobe Dean a lot is because they're really going to test that injury. And that's my thought process. Is like, go out there in a game. Let's see what you're about. Let's see if you can, obviously we heard good things from our medical staff and everything, but this could be a nice little test to say, hey, how full speed are you actually? And I wouldn't be surprised to see them put them out there for a whole quarter or something like that. Obviously that's not a lot in, regular season, but it is right now. So you guys let me know what you're thinking. I want to know what you guys are thinking about this game. Who are you guys looking forward to seeing? But other than that, man, y'all know what it is. It is Fly Goes Fly, and we are out here. Peace!
Eagles fans everywhere. This is for
Yeah.
you.
Fly was flying on the team. Touchdown. Time to get Jalen this ring. You don't really want to start a thing. This a bird game nation, baby. It's a Philly thing. Hater, and you looking like you type trash. I'm just here calling on Philly the podcast. And we can call a man dog or watch Miles score off the handoff. Rest of the division, your man saw Jackson like Sean.